The story of Kwame, the boy who became king. In the heart of a great African kingdom called Nfuma, there lived a boy named Kwame. He was 15 years old, tall and strong, with eyes that shone like stars. Kwame was the son of the king, King Akoto, a man known for his wisdom and power. But as wise and powerful as King Akoto was, he was also feared. He ruled with a heavy hand, punishing those who disobeyed him without mercy. Kwame grew up watching his father and learning the ways of the kingdom. He saw how his father ruled, and deep inside, he felt something wasn't right. The people of Nfuma were afraid of King Akoto, and Kwame knew that fear was not the way a true king should rule. In his heart, Kwame believed he could be a better ruler, a kind and just king. One evening, as the sun began to set, Kwame sat by the river with his best friend Kojo. "Kojo," Kwame said, "I want to be king." Kojo looked at him with wide eyes. "But Kwame, your father is the king. He's strong, and no one dares challenge him." Kwame stared at the river's calm water. "I know, but I believe I can bring peace to our people. My father rules with fear, but I would rule with love. The people need a king who listens, not one who punishes." Kojo shook his head. "But how will you become king? Your father is still alive." Kwame's eyes darkened. "There's only one way." Kojo gasped, realizing what Kwame meant. "You cannot kill your own father, Kwame. It is against the laws of the gods." Kwame looked away, torn between his love for his father and his desire to save his people. But the more he thought about it, the more he believed it was the only way. The kingdom needed change, and if his father would not step aside, Kwame knew what he had to do. The next day, Kwame went to the village elder, Nana. Nana was an old and wise woman who knew the secrets of the kingdom. "Nana," Kwame said, "I need your help." Nana looked at him with her deep, wise eyes. "What is troubling you, young prince?" "I want to be king," Kwame said, his voice steady, "but my father will never give up his throne." Nana sighed. "The path you are thinking of is dangerous, Kwame. The gods watch over us all, and they do not favor those who spill blood for power." "But Nana," Kwame said, "my father's rule brings nothing but pain to the people. I want to bring peace, justice, and love. Isn't that what the gods would want?" Nana thought for a moment, then said, "If your heart is truly pure, Kwame, the gods will see. But know this, taking the life of your father will bring great consequences." Kwame nodded. He had already made up his mind. That night, under the cover of darkness, Kwame entered his father's royal chambers. King Akoto lay asleep, unaware of the danger that was near. Kwame stood over his father, his heart pounding in his chest. He remembered all the times his father had been harsh, all the times the people of Nfuma had suffered. Slowly, Kwame raised the dagger he had brought with him. But just as he was about to strike, his father's eyes opened. King Akoto stared at Kwame in shock. "My son, what are you doing?" Kwame froze, his hands shaking. He could not speak. The two stood there in silence for what seemed like an eternity. Finally, King Akoto spoke. "You want to kill me, to take my throne?" Kwame's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, father. I want to be king for the people. You rule with fear, and I would rule with love." King Akoto sat up slowly. "Do you think ruling is so easy? Do you think the throne brings peace and happiness? The crown is heavy, my son. Heavier than you know." "I know it's heavy," Kwame said, his voice stronger now. "But I am ready to carry it." King Akoto sighed, looking at his son with sad eyes. "If you believe that, then do what you came to do." Kwame's hand shook as he raised the dagger again. But this time, he did not hesitate. With a swift motion, he plunged the dagger into his father's chest. King Akoto gasped, his eyes wide in pain, but he did not fight back. As the life drained from him, he whispered his final words. "May the gods forgive you, my son, for you will need their mercy." Kwame stood over his father's lifeless body, the weight of what he had done pressing down on him. He had become king, but at what cost? The next day, the people of Nfuma gathered in the royal court. Kwame was crowned king, and he promised to rule with fairness and love. For a time, the people rejoiced. Under Kwame's rule, the kingdom flourished. The people were no longer afraid, and peace returned to the land. But as the months passed, Kwame began to feel a great emptiness inside. He could not escape the memory of his father's dying words. Night after night, he dreamed of his father's face, his eyes full of sorrow. One night, while Kwame was alone in the palace, a cold wind blew through the halls. He heard a voice, soft at first but growing louder. It was his father's voice. "Kwame, Kwame," the voice whispered. Terrified, Kwame ran to Nana. "Nana, my father's spirit haunts me. What should I do?" Nana looked at him with sad eyes. "You have taken the throne, but you have also brought the curse of the gods upon yourself. Your father's spirit will not rest, and neither will you, until you make peace with what you have done." Kwame fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "What can I do, Nana? How can I make peace?" Nana placed her hand on his shoulder. "You must go to the sacred mountain and ask the gods for forgiveness. Only they can free you from this burden." Kwame knew what he had to do. He left the palace and traveled to the sacred mountain, where he knelt before the altar and prayed for forgiveness. The gods listened, and though they did not erase his guilt, they lifted the curse from his soul. Kwame returned to his kingdom a changed man. He ruled with even more kindness and humility, knowing that power came with great responsibility. And though he would never forget the cost of his throne, Kwame became the king he had always wanted to be, a king who ruled with love, justice, and wisdom. The people of Nfuma remembered him as Kwame, the boy who became king. But in his heart, Kwame knew that being king was a burden he would carry for the rest of his life.